morning, my little darlings. I'm not jumping this morning, but I am going to do a lot of walking today. So I've got to go. I'm basically walking to Shepherd's Bush, and then from Shepherd's Bush, I've got to go to Chancery Lane. So from where I'm going to an appointment in Shepherd's Bush, I've got to walk to the station and then get to the gallery, shoot some stuff there, organise my wall, come back home, get dressed again, and go back out again to Euston for my friend's 50th. Lovely bit of rosemary. Oh my god, it's so good. Just while I'm doing that, I just saw a TikTok today that said if you think you're having a heart attack, breathe in deeply and cough like that, and do that, and then it's like, I was just like, it's like when you're choking your car engine, old-fashioned cars, not Chinese electric cars. Did you know the Chinese electric cars, all of them, every e-vehicle, from scooters to bikes to cars to whatever they're transporting and making, they can remotely turn it off anywhere in the world, well, especially from China. I did not know that. That is massive. Not only did you buy your product, you technically don't own it.
Since I'm going to be showing you the pop-up gallery, I thought I'd give you a little insight into my journey of being an artist. I'm going to start from the very beginning. I've always had a diary since I was 8 or 9, and I've still got them. So I've always been interested in journaling and recording my life experiences, mostly for memory rather than anything else, for myself. And then I realised that it kind of shaped me as an individual, knowing that I've imprinted thoughts. So fast forward to going through my hormonal teenage years, I've kind of always been attracted to bright things, and even when I go flipping back, because you know me, going on tangents a go-go, I used to love reading the Sunday supplements, my mum and dad's newspapers, and the glossy mags. Well, they weren't glossy, they were colour mags. And I would cut out and make collages of all the catwalk images. And I remember at the time, gold ballerina shoes were in when I was about 9. And I remember going to CNA. Anyway, oh my god, I'm giving you such a massive tangent here. On Oxford Street. Fast forward to, okay, let's shorten this. I've always been insecure about my paint, my drawing, and my ability to be able to just be expressive, because people would always constantly judge you about your accuracy and how well you can have hand-eye coordination and draw what exactly is in front of you, or whatever it is that you're drawing. I mean, all my siblings are better draftsmen than I am. They can paint a bird, or one of my brothers can paint. I mean, he draws really graphite, really thin pen, ink, cartoons like Judge Dredd back in the 80s. So I was always like, oh well, I'm just rubbish within my own vicinity. So I just completely was at a loss, because I knew that that's what I wanted to do, create either music or art or write or just be expressive somewhere or another. But then I knew, being a brown person, being a female, being not the glossy magazine image of what a artist would look up to, what the media thinks, what the establishment thinks. And that's a key word there, the establishment. And they're the people who decide whether you suck or whether you're magnificent. And that kind of made me go really into the alternative realm because I knew that I would never in a million, billion, zillion years be part of the establishment. And I'm right, because I'm 51 and nobody has ever. And they know. And the thing about art is, it doesn't matter how good you are, it doesn't matter how bad you are. They know you're out there. If you're putting your work out there, they know that you're there. And so the sad thing about it, fast forward, rewind rather. I did my A-level art, I did photography art A-level, I did all the things that I was supposed to do so that I could do a degree in art. I didn't realise that when you approached art schools that you were supposed to have a foundation, so your GCSEs and your A-levels don't count for tush if you don't have a foundation. And I just worked 3 years really hard trying to get all of those things together, only for them to tell me, well, you need to spend another year doing this. So I got into Wimbledon, I got into Chelsea School of Art, and when I went to the interviews and they said, you can do a degree, but you have to do another year. So that's 4 years of education system, and when you're 18, 19, and I was like, oh, hell to the no. And also I knew back then that I was never going to get on with other art students, because they were, coming from London, you got the most flamboyant of society going, and the very rich who could afford even art materials, art supplies. That would have been like a nightmare for me to keep up with all of those things. So I kind of said, you know what, I've always wanted to do, because my dad travelled. I want to travel and I want to learn and get an eye that way of things that inspire me separately. So I did that, and then fast forward, I did a degree in art. Well, I did a humanities degree and majored in art history and photography. And so, for years I worked as a fundraiser, sourcing goods for charity shops for decades, like literally 2 decades, and that's how I learned about my vintage stuff. And then during somewhere in between that, I did a lot of travel and a lot of a bit more education, and so I got my degree, and then I worked in couture for a number of years, and then I was being encouraged to really take up my art life, so I went part-time. I've always been part-time. I've always wanted to have compromise this system in the I'll work, but I'm not going to be completely isolated by work. I want to have a life. So that was a good compromise, I think, in my life existence up to the age of 51. Anyway, fast forward to 2013, 2014, I finally got the opportunity to have a studio in Brentford, which was a congregation of artists that a lot of people tried to get into, not because they're exclusives, because the space is very small and people tend not to leave studio space, art studio space in West London. That is like a fact. It's so sparse in West London, studio space. From the last 20 years, 30 years, it's impossible to find a space that you could, even some institutions like Akava, if they give out space to you, you're still dishing out £200-300 a month, and then even then people cling on to their studio spaces. So West London, everyone goes east, and that was the last 20 years, and all I heard is east, 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 go east. And I'm like, I'm from West London, I paint about West London and my surroundings and my heritage. I've got nothing in East London, and I ain't schlepping all the way over there. So I was, for a long time. But then, yes, Johnson's Island happened, and that kind of kick-started my journey into being like somebody in my own mind that is being understood as creating and acknowledging that I'm creating, never mind anyone else. That was like, okay, I've been accepted, there's a space for me. I had to fight for that space. There wasn't a space at Johnson's Island. I made a space and I begged for it, literally. And now I think somebody else uses it now. When I moved on, and then I went to Mexico, and then I went to Central America, and then my mother passed which is a massive leap in a great big milestone in my life, where everything kind of like went tizzy. And then this is the truth. I met somebody from Johnson's Island just by chance on the high road, and they said, get on down to Hammersmith. There's an art thing going on there. Cut to the fast forward. I ended up being an art resident, having an artist residency with this company called You Think PDP, who are an art charity, who take on strays and waifs like myself who don't fit in anywhere, which I never did. And I'm just wholly grateful to them that they took me on and gave me all the freedom and just didn't ask for hardly anything. And so, I volunteered for them. I kind of like would do any kind of media stuff for them, social media and photography, and, just make sure that people are kind of clued up as to what You Think PDP is, and not, stay grounded. I try to help the group stay grounded is my role, I feel. And I'm eternally grateful to them, because otherwise absolutely fucking nobody would give fucking tuppence or a piece of shit to what me personally I am expressing. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being you. That was not the Teenage Fan Club. Anyway, so yeah, that was my long... See, that's why I don't like talking about. It's actually quite boring. But yeah, and the worst thing about the establishment, the art establishment, which will never accept me, and I will be forever in obscurity, I'm sure. I don't want that. I want people to see my paintings, which is why I just carry like a donkey my paintings everywhere, because I don't have a car because of ULEZ. What the establishment do... Oh my God, this is 10 minutes. I'm going to have to cut this up quite a bit, I know. What the establishment do is they wait for you to die. So when you're 70, 80, they start saying, oh, this is an interesting person. What a wonderful life they've had. Oh, let's see how much stuff they've got. Oh my God, there's warehouses full of their stuff and their paintings. Let's just let them die and then just claim everything, because, we've sort of put our foot through the door with them. But we're not going to give them any exposure just yet in our galleries. So, the recycling of dead artists is all we've seen in the last 100 years. And that's all we will see as long as it's making money. It's funny.
The husband. Yeah. Anything to cars. How's the party going here?
It's going wonderful. Marvellous.
There is. Yeah. That one. Anthony, are you reading? It's complicated. I've had a few drinks. Sonia, I want you to come up and do our next piece.
Easy, no?
It's not there though. Are you mad?
One, two.
Technology. 50-year-old
One, two, there we go. The old boy. Come here.
I simply must have pastry, darling, must have pastry.
Having such a great time, I forget who I am. I'm a woman possessed. Why should we go through this test? Why must it be? I thought I was so happy, laughing so hard with my new chappie. I look above at you, baby. I look above at you, baby. I look above at you. I look above at you, you look down below me, baby. You look down below me, baby. You look down I don't know where you are. I don't know where you are.